So hello and welcome back, folks. It has been a big week for JavaScript people, especially for Node.js folks, because we are out with the latest release, Node.js version 16. It is available now. It was released on 20th April, and if I'm not wrong, today it's 29. So we are posting videos as soon as we can, and we'll cover everything that is to be covered for this release. So first of all, we'll see who needs to upgrade. That is very important. That is, I would say, the most important thing, and maybe most of you are here because of that. Because yes, Node.js 16 is there, but about 6 to 7 months ago, I made a video. Actually, when we started this channel, we made a video about Node.js 15. I think that was either the first or the second ever video on this channel. And I have already linked to that in the description below. Go check that out if you want to. So people usually think that, well, Node.js 15 was recently released, now it's 16, there might be breaking changes. Should we even upgrade? And that is the question we will address in this video, in this live stream. We will see if you're on Node 12, what your plan of action should be. If you're Node 14, what your plan of action should be. If you're on Node 10 or earlier, well, what you should do then. You already guessed it, you should probably update, but we'll get more into details, how and when you should update. And what if you already updated to Node 15? Well, you shouldn't have done that, and we'll get to that a little later. Apart from that, we'll also cover the major features that I like. The first of all is the Apple Silicon binary. So the new Mac that came out last year in around November, now Node.js fully supports that and has additional stable APIs for that. So that is great. That's a good news for Mac community. Again, we will get into all those things. We'll get into the features. We'll get into the nitty-gritties later on. But let's focus on what and who, what kind of project should be updated. Now, there's a great resource online, which is github.com node.js/release. And as you can see in the banner in this video, we will link to all these sources down in the description after the stream ends, so do not worry about that. You don't need to take any notes, you just need to listen and just need to understand what is happening. So this is a release working group. Now, what does it mean? It basically means that here you will be able to see when the initial release is, how long it's active, when the maintenance start, what's the end of life. And if you're new to programming, you might not know what is active LTS, what is maintenance, what is end of life. We will get into all of that. Don't worry about it. So first of all, there are three to four different status of a release, you can say. So for example, you can see that anything before Node.js 10 is unstable. So you should definitely not be on a version that is older than 10. Now, that being said, it doesn't mean 10 should be something that you should be using as well. You should not be using 10. And if we go back here, you would see that Node.js 15 was the current release line, and now Node.js 16 is the current release line. Now, what does it mean? And don't worry, we'll get into that. First of all, we have a maintenance mode. Now, maintenance mode basically means, these are different phases, I should say. It basically means that only the critical bug fixes and security updates will be done. So if you're using Node.js 12, you will still be getting the security fixes. So your website or your application or your backend, whatever it might be, will still have all the security patches, all the bug fixes will be done on Node.js 12. So that's a good sign if you are still on 12. However, you should start upgrading to Node.js 14 already. And why? If you have a look at this table, you will see in 2022, April 30. So basically, by the end of April next year, Node.js 12 would go in end of life. Now, in end of life, you will not receive any security updates, you will not receive any bug fixes, and your code will start getting stale. And you should never really let that happen in the first place. You should always go to the active LTS version. If not, then at least the maintenance version. You don't want to be behind the maintenance. Once you're behind the maintenance, there are a lot of changes. There are a lot of, I would say, breaking changes. For example, if you move directly from Node.js 10 to Node.js 16, well, that transformation can be a hell, because there might be so many deprecations, so many changes in the code base, and you need to test a lot of things. So I don't recommend that. If you're on 10, well, move to 12. If you're on 12, start at least planning to move towards 14 because that's the future. You should already start planning for that. Also, Node.js 14 is also in the active. Now, what does active mean? Active means that still new features are being updated. But active also means that you will have to keep on updating your Node.js version as soon as the new feature comes. For example, let's say you're on 14.1. Node.js team works on a new feature and they release 14.2. Well, only if you go to that version, you'll be able to leverage or take use of that new feature. But does it mean you should not go to Node.js 14? Well, you definitely should. At least in my opinion, you definitely should because when you're in active development, you don't expect any deprecations. You do not expect any breaking changes. So all the changes that will be made by the Node.js team, well, you will not have to change your code. They will just be new features, new security patches, new bug fixes that will make your Node.js up to date and better. Now, when it comes to current, hopefully you know that, and if you don't, you will know it now. You should not update your production code to the current version. You should never do that because current is unstable. It basically means that it incorporates most of the non-breaking major changes, but still it's not on the master branch of Node.js. So basically, Node.js is still developing it actively. Actively, they're making new features. They're trying new things, trying to make the node go to next level, and you should not be updating to that. Now, if Node.js 16 is out there, there's a question that people ask a lot. Well, can I upgrade to Node 15? What do you think is the answer to that? Well, the answer to that is no. You should not upgrade to Node.js 15. Why? Because it is very important to know, so probably note it down. Odd releases in Node.js do not go to LTS. LTS means long-term support. Odd number, so 15, 13, and so on, they will never be going to long-term support. Okay, they're just for testing purposes. So basically, if you're planning to go to 16, maybe you can go to 15 in your code base if you're a big company, if you can afford that, but you cannot move that to prod. You will keep that on a different server just to be ready to go to 16. It will be a smoother transition. That's it. You'll be able to test the new features earlier, but really it is not for production. So never, odd numbers should never go to production. Even numbers are something that you can use for production. Okay, we cleared that. I'm glad. Now, right now, you should not upgrade to Node.js 16. Let me show it to you in the full screen. So as you can see here, if you were not able to see it before, Node.js 12 is in maintenance, 14 is active and maintenance, 15 don't update to production, 16 is now in current. And that's a good news. Whenever you're using a library or a language that is constantly evolving, well, that is always a good news for you. Node.js 16 has a cool name. It's called as Gallium. I thought it will be cooler. Actually, in my head, I thought it will be a cool thing. I Googled it. It basically is a chemical element with atomic number 31. So not so cool, but anyways, it's called Gallium. In case you were interested, now you know that. This would be available till 2024, and it would go to long-term support in October 2021. So this year in October, you would be able to go on production with Node.js 16, and you would be able to stay there for a little over 1.5 years, almost 2 years. So that is great news if you keep your code base up to date. But now we have covered who should upgrade it, why you should upgrade it. Let's see what are the new features. I guess that is the most important thing today. First of all, your V8 engine has been upgraded to V8 9.0. Those who don't know, it was already in 8.6, at least in the Node 15. Earlier, it might depend on your code base, but now we are on V8 9.0. So that comes with some performance improvements, keeping Node.js up to date with the JavaScript features and languages. We now also have stable timers promises. So for example, you do not have to use util.promisify to basically be able to use timer promises or async await. So now it's more clear, but this is not the feature I'm most excited about. The features I'm very excited about are these. First of all, now we have a web crypto API. And why I say I'm excited about this is because until now, we had to use some external libraries and it was not very efficient. Especially Node.js, it was not efficient to do cryptographic operations. Now, what do we mean by cryptographic operations? It means you can do hashing, you can do signature generation, you can do verification, you can do encryption and decryption of all sort. Well, now you'll say we were already able to do that. What's the big thing? But have you heard about the company DocuSign? Well, you submit legal documents, someone signs it, you have a proper signing, and that is a proper legal document. And you need encryption, decryption, you need cryptographic operations to do that. So now with Node.js, you will be able to do that. Again, I will link to that in the description below. So if you're an advanced developer, if you want to get into that, if you want to create something that will have either a multi-factor authentication, right? Maybe you're using Google Authenticator. Just ID and password is not enough for your product, for your website. Maybe you need a second level of authentication, which most of the fintech companies do use, and obviously the finance company as well. What if you want some kind of cloud storage that needs to be highly secure? Well, you can use the cryptographic operations there as well. What if you want document signing? As I said before, let's say Kritika and I are looking for a house right now. So right now, whenever we have to make an offer or do anything legal, we are sent the documents via email. I prefer that. And because of COVID, all the agents have moved to that. And if you're planning to do something like that with Node.js, well, you will need cryptographic operations, and they're available in 16 version. So that's great. Also, let's say you want to do secure messaging, like WhatsApp just sent me a notification that now all the chats are end-to-end encrypted. You do that with cryptographic operation. So let's get that out of the way. It sounds like a fancy thing. It is a little advanced, but if you have been programming for a year or over that, it should not be a big issue. And I'll link to that in the description right after the stream ends. We have NPM 7, we have Node API version 8. I don't want to get into that. I'm not very excited about that. I don't think I'll be using that anytime soon. Obviously, with NPM 7, there are a few things. For example, now it starts installing, I guess, peer dependencies, which it did not do before. But again, that's boring for me. Let's get into Abort controller. If you want to get a detailed view of how Abort controller works, I've already linked down Node.js v15. It was actually released with Node 15, and they have just improved that. They have made it stable. So if you want to check that out, go check that out, the video. But I can give you a brief overview of how Abort controller works and what it is. So first of all, I won't go into definitions. Definitions can be boring and confusing. So there's no reason to get into the definitions. But what I'll tell you is, let's say you have an API call. That API call downloads a video of 100 MB. Now, once you make that API call, right now, you cannot cancel it. Well, even if you cancel, even if you stop listening to it, it will still execute. It will still return something probably in your browser. What if you don't want that? What if you want to abort that request? Let's say user started downloading a video, but now he aborts that operation. Can you do that? With Abort controller, you can. Let's see how we can do that. First of all, I'll show you a running example. So here we have a simple video, offline video player. When we click on download video, it goes to an API, it starts downloading a video, sorry. I hope you can see it. I hope it's large enough. I'll zoom in for you guys. So here we are. When I click on download video, if I wait for long enough, you can see it's a sentinel.mp4 file, which is being downloaded. So if I wait long enough, in the end, eventually it will be downloaded. And as you can see, it already is downloaded, and I can play it. So that works, that's great. But can we do something else? Can we stop it? Well, let's try again. Now, if I click on download video button, as you can see over here, before the download completes, I can cancel it. And what just happened? It says download error. The user aborted a request. And what happened to this request? Well, this was actually aborted. We never got a response. And you can do that very nicely, very gracefully with Abort controller. Now let's see a basic example of how you would do that. So first of all, you need to create a new instance of the Abort controller using the constructor. That should be pretty basic. After that, you need to save the controller.signal. You need to save the signal because this signal will be sent with your API request. So if you're using fetch, you will obviously fetch by the URL, but you'll also send the signal. Now, this signal will eventually help us in aborting the request. This will tell our abort controller what request we want to cancel. Okay, so you will just send it as an object in your fetch command. Now, here we are just getting the instances of the button. So we are getting the download button and abort button. So it's pretty simple. Whenever you click on download button, the fetch video function executes and we start fetching the video. That is basic. But where does the controller abort controller come? When you click on the abort button, we just do controller.abort. And that's it. Isn't it great? I really like this and have already plans to use this in many different areas at the job I work and in my personal projects. So I hope you would be making use of this feature as well. Now, as I said, there are other upgrades, there are other features as well. For example, you can replace all with JavaScript and with Node.js. Now, again, we won't go into that because I have already covered all of that in the Node.js V15 video, again, linked down in the description. We have covered all the major features that comes with this release. We have also covered why and which kind of project should be upgraded. Not all projects need to be upgraded. You should not go to 15, 17, 19, 13. You should not go to those versions. They are never going into long-term support. So those are all the valuable things we have discussed today. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. If you have a better idea of what Node.js 16 is bringing you, well, don't forget to hit the like button before you leave. It's very important. It helps us keep motivated. It helps us know what kind of content you like. Let's say I'm creating 10 different videos. I won't know if you don't hit the like button, which video you prefer, which you don't. And the ones you prefer, we'll keep on bringing more and more of that. And that's it. That's it from my side. I hope you have a great evening, a great day if you're watching it in the day, if you're not watching live, and have a nice time. Bye-bye. Keep learning.